For the audio people, I'm smiling. I'm smiling very happily.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Coming up on today's show, what to look forward to in Game 2 against the Astros. We take a deep dive into how bad the umpiring has been this year across the league. But first, for the audio people, I'm smiling. I'm smiling very happily. The Yankees beat up on the Astros, win the game 10-3, and more specifically, beat up on Justin Verlander, which coming into the game, he was doing very well. Very, very well. He didn't start with the team right away, but in his first few starts, he did well. And the Yankees they rudely greeted him. And they actually scored the most runs they've ever scored against him in a start. We're going to get into that in a second. Let's talk about Luis Gil, because as Brian said on the show the other day, Luis Gil always seems to be matched up against the other team's ace. He was matched up against Corbin Burnes last week, against the Orioles. Here he was up against Justin Verlander, and the kid did great. He really did. The only hit and run that he gave up was that home run to Kyle Tucker, which made me laugh because I was watching the game and on Twitter, and people were already like, oh, here we go again. And as Brian mentioned on the show, Monday, basically Kyle Tucker and Jose Altuve, the only ones really doing anything on that team. And they really are, because that was the only hit the Astros had up until the seventh or eighth inning. They kept them hitless after that home run. Gil had retired 7 in a row at one point. He did walk 4. He got into a bit of a rough patch there, but he was able to stop the damage. And he struck out 5. So he stepped up. 6 innings also. Did I mention that? 6 innings. So good performance by Gil. Steps it up against the wily veteran Justin Verlander. Verlander's final line, 5 innings, 7 runs on 8 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, gives up 3 home runs. Woof. The first blow, Soto hits a single, Judge walks, Verdugo hits a home run. Makes it 3-1. The next time they score on him, Soto single, Judge walk, Verdugo single this time. Then Volpe hit a home run. And Stanton's home run was amazing. It was the hardest hit home run so far this season in all of baseball, if I'm not mistaken. 118.8 miles an hour off the bat. Barely left. It was a line drive into the visitors' bullpen. It's just amazing. He's absolutely amazing. He turned on that ball so fast, and that's scary. 118.8 miles an hour is really fast. Really, really, really fast. Good thing it didn't hit anyone. It's a good thing it actually landed in the bullpen and it didn't go into the left field seats, because someone would have gotten hurt. That would have been a bad thing. So this was Verlander's first loss of the season. They raised his ERA to a 4.43. Now, an interesting nugget of information was given out during the game. In case you didn't watch it, David Cohn on the Yes Network broadcast during Judge's at bat in the 4th inning said that at that point, Verlander had thrown 35 four-seam fastballs. And to that point in the game, the Yankees had not swung and missed at any of them. So impressive. I know he's getting up there in age, but he's still Justin Verlander. He still gives the Yankees fits. Not all the time. There are games when they get to him. But to get to him for 7 runs when he was one of the bright spots on that team, like really, as I said earlier, Kyle Tucker, Jose Altuve, and basically Justin Verlander are the only good things right now going on for the now 12-23 Astros. Again, my heart is not broken by this. I was relieved that the Yankees were able to get to Verlander. I figured this would be the toughest matchup out of the three for the series, and they passed with flying colors, the offense. 10-3 is a good score. The 3 happened because Michael Tonkin gave up some runs in the 9th inning, which it happens in a game like that. I didn't realize, as you're watching the game, obviously they tell you how people are performing, but I didn't realize how bad Alex Bregman it had been. His average is, I think they said it was hovering around 200, which, and I don't know about the rest of you, but my biggest fear as a Yankee fan, especially when they play the Astros, I don't trust the Astros to be this bad all season. But as we said on the show a couple days ago, it's getting close to the point of no return. It really is. As I said earlier, they're 12-23. That is a rough start. Can they turn it around? Of course, they're the Astros. There's always a chance that they can turn it around. I'm just glad that so far in this first game, they did not turn it around against the Yankees. So good game. I was happy with Heal's performance. He stepped it up. The 6 innings was great. Also, the Yankees didn't have to use any of their more important bullpen guys. Ron Marinaccio. Wow, I said that really wrong. Ron Marinaccio got into the game. As I said, Michael Tonkin was in there. And this is the type of game you want. I know there was an off game on Monday, but still you kind of want guys to rest a little more because the bullpen's been used a lot, and this was a good first game. Before we go into segment 2, let's do some injury updates because these are important. And you may have heard about some of them. Garrett Cole threw a bullpen session on Tuesday or Monday. They said that it went well. He threw his fastball. He's been recovering well between throwing sessions, but I believe this was the first actual bullpen that he threw. So good signs. He was aiming for a mid-June return, and it looks like that could happen if things keep going right. Next update, Jason Dominguez might get into some rehab games starting the middle of this month, i.e. next week, because we're almost at the middle of the month. And according to Boone, he will DH in those games, just not put pressure on the arm that he had surgically repaired. Oswald Peraza has started a rehab assignment down with Tampa. You forgot about him. There was no update on DJ LeMahieu. I didn't see an update about DJ LeMahieu. And Nick Birdie is with Scranton now. He's close to returning. He actually pitched in the game on Tuesday night. I saw a clip of it. He looked good. So that's a good bullpen arm to get back for the Yankees. So things are happening. Good things are happening for the Yankees. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, and hit the notification bell so you know when our videos go up. Also, reply to the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday if you want your questions answered for Fan Mail Friday. Or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from us. You can text us questions. There's a 14-day free trial. It's a lot of fun. So coming up in segment 2, we discuss the umpiring this year and how particularly bad it's been. Locked On Yankees is sponsored by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Locked On Sports Today is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the noise. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Don't forget, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees.
Stacey, I wanted to get into going into segment 2 here. The fact, I mean, I know it's been a talking point, and I know we've, on the show and our listeners have really gotten into it on how bad the umpiring has been this season in specific. And I think we gathered a little bit of evidence to make that a little more right in front of your face, right? Because you can say how bad it is, but sometimes when you say things are as bad as they are, you look up the numbers and they're not actually as bad as you thought. Right? Your eyes didn't tell the true story. And I looked at the stats and turns out they're bad. The umpires have been brutally bad. It's been a problem throughout baseball. It really has. And I think it's been, in my at least opinion, it's been a problem through all 4 major sports, but it's the worst in baseball out of any major sport that we're watching right now.
Right.
Umpires this year, Stacey, if you were to guess, actually, let's run this to you. What would you think is the percentage that you would want your umpires to be at when it comes to getting calls correct? I mean, ideally you'd want 100%, but there is the human
That's
element.
never going to happen, right?
There is the human element. So ideally, though, you're talking the top of the level. You're talking like the premier level of sports. There are umpires that umpire in little league sports and college sports and minor leagues. You're talking at the top premier level. What should your umpires be at percentage-wise?
I would think 95 and above, like an A+. Like,
yeah.
Like a grade in school. 95 and up is an A+. So there.
So we're running at 94% for umpires this year on correct call rate. That's just behind the plate. That's not in the field. That's not challengeable plays. We'll get to that stat in a little bit, which is even worse. We're looking at 94%. That's really bad. I'm just going to throw it out there. 94% of pitches, and that's just behind the plate, is not good. And it's not what we can have. And here's the problem that we're seeing in all of sports, and we're seeing it specifically in baseball. Umpires have an ego now. And I don't know where this came from. I don't know where this was developed. I don't know what time period this started to become a thing. But managers acting out and speaking out against umpires is not a new thing. This has been going on for decades. And umpires now are very trigger happy, very quick to throw a guy out of a game. They take almost an enjoyment out of it. Like they love throwing guys out of games. I don't know where this came from, but I think you understand just as much as me. I mean, we look at, Boone last weekend getting thrown out when he didn't say anything. A guy in the stands was screaming at the umpire, and Boone got thrown out. And the umpire, I'll leave this to you before I get to you. The quote from the umpire when Boone asked him, that wasn't me, I didn't say anything, was, doesn't matter. I don't care who said it. You're gone. Like a child.
Well, what's funny to me is there were managers in the 70s and 80s who were way more bombastic and running out and yelling and throwing things. There's one famous ejection of Earl Weaver. It's still one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. He runs out to the first base ump, starts yelling at him, and they're screaming back and forth at each other. But as soon as Earl Weaver said the F word, that's when the ump's like, all right, you're out. Like, it just, here's my thing about umpires. We should know who the umpires are.
Yeah.
Ideally, you shouldn't know the name of an umpire. And my problem is that when I see a certain umpire's name and the list has gotten longer, which is the actual problem. There used to be the tried and true CB Buckner, Joe West, Angel Hernandez, maybe Laz Diaz, Phil Cuzzy. Like, there were a few. Now it's all these different guys that I know their names. I know certain things that they did either to the Yankees or Boone. Oh, Jerry Davis. Oh, please. We shouldn't know these guys' names. We shouldn't know them.
No, we shouldn't. They shouldn't become a part of the game. They should just be calling the game and that's it. And again, we've seen much more horrifying antics we've seen coaches pick up bases and throw them across the field. We've thrown
kicking the dirt.
dirt kicked at them, the whole thing. Managers now aren't doing those kind of antics. Now Boone does scream, Boone does yell at the umpire, and he's one of the only managers that really gets thrown out a lot in the game today. But when the mics catch a pretty good amount of what the coaches are saying and what the managers are saying, they're not saying vile stuff. They're not saying horrifying things that would get you thrown out of a game. The umpires don't want to be spoken to. And that's not a reason to throw a manager out of a game. I'm sorry, it's not. The managers are way more important than the umpires. We know all the managers' names. We don't know all the umpires' names. We don't care about the umpires as fans. Nobody, and I mean this, legitimately nobody, is showing up to East 161st to see the umpire crew.
Right.
Nobody is. Nobody is. They're there to see Judge, Torres, Soto, Cole, whatever you want to say. Nobody is there to see Laz Diaz. Nobody is there to see Joe West. Nobody's there to see Angel Hernandez, and we'll get to him in a little bit. Nobody is there to see any of these guys. We don't need them to involve themselves in the game. And like the idea of Boone coming out and arguing, the umpire saying one more word and I'm throwing you out. You shouldn't have that control. Now, again, Boone starts cursing at you, saying horrible things about your family, the whole thing. Then you can launch him out of the game. I don't care. But we know Aaron Boone is a guy. We've seen him in interviews. He's not that guy. Aaron Boone is not saying stuff at that level of disrespect ever. Boone is basically saying what Judge said the other day. You've been terrible all day. Was Judge wrong in saying that? No. Judge was right. The strike that was called was way off the plate, and he threw him out of the game for saying that. I mean, and Judge is the most mild-mannered 6'8" guy you ever met in your life. I did want to mention this too. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but this was a game on Saturday between the Rockies and the White Sox and the Cardinals. The game went to extra innings. In the 10th inning, the White Sox scored in the top of the 10th. They were leading in the top of the 10th by a run. The Cardinals had loaded the bases, had a batter get up. It was a 2-2 count, and they waived the game at that point because it was pouring to the level they couldn't continue. There was a 3-hour rain delay, and it's one of those, you can't call the game because it's in extras and they have the bases loaded, so you can't really call the game. They come out 3 hours later to an empty Busch Stadium when the rain had stopped to play. On the first pitch back, 2-2 count, I was watching this game. The ball was wildly off the plate. I'm talking 6-7 inches off the plate and low. And he called strike 3, ended the game. After a 3-hour delay, and they had come back on the field. Because the umpire basically decided.
Stevie Buckner, though, right?
Yep. And he basically had decided I had dinner reservations. I wanted to go see the Arch. Whatever the reason was, he had a reason to not be at the stadium, and he was pissed that he was still there, so he called the game there. And they all came back out to pitch this game. And go if you're a fan out there, go find this pitch. Like, go on Twitter, YouTube, find the pitch. And I advise, Stacey, I don't know if you saw it or not, it will make you almost laugh. That's how far off I'm talking. If this headphone case is the little proverbial box that the batter's eye is in, right? The ball was here. It was so significantly off the plate, and they still called it strike 3 as if I want to get out of here. I'm not doing this. It frustrated me so much.
Yeah, as you said, no one's there to see the umps, and they do take that power that they have too far. The power of controlling the game, I guess you would say. Yeah. And it's just, it does seem to be worse. And as you said, it feels like officiating in all the major sports has gotten worse over the years. And it's always on display on a big stage. Like, you're seeing bad reffing in hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, and it's
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And here's now we'll get into the nerdy stats, because I know that we do have a crowd that's interested in that. I know me and you are definitely interested in that. Managers are challenging plays. Now, obviously, you can't challenge balls and strikes, but you can challenge balls in the field, safe or out, all that kind of stuff. Managers are challenging this year with a winning rate of 55.3%. That means half of the over half, 45% of the umpires' calls this year are wrong. Now, that's in the field. You have to have a higher standard than that. You have to. So 45% of all close calls that are made in the field are wrong calls that are made. How is that even possible? How is that the number that we're not looking to fix? That's the highest success rate managers have had at challenges since 2014. 2014. And that was the year that we instituted replay. That was the year replay came in. And they are wrong 55% of the time. That's insane, Stacey. That can't be.
I just think of, every time I think of replays and overturned calls. That game in the 2018 division series between the Yankees and the Red Sox, Angel Hernandez at first base.
Mm-hmm.
Just nearly every close call he made was wrong.
Yeah. It gets worse too. Get a load of this in the strike zone, right? Umpires are wrong on the call of a ball and a strike 7.5% of the time on balls and strikes. That's insane. That's such a crazy. So 93% of the game on average is only being called correctly. That's a crazy number. That's the highest mark in the last 6 seasons. So I want to bring out how often it's been and how much this has been going on, because this is what's going on, how crazy it's been in the year 2024. Believe it or not, all these numbers, by the way, these challenge numbers, these striking ball numbers, all of them were far better last year. Not even close, far better. The umpires seem to be improving last year, and I think it had a lot to do with the pitch clock being, not the pitch clock, the robo-umps being a brought-about idea, where everyone was a little scared and they were a little more on their toes and a little more on their game. They don't want to get their jobs taken away, so they're going to be a little more on their toes. So 2023 was a good year. So I'm going to choose to credit 2023 being a better year for umpires, not because of the robo-umps, because everyone thought it was that reason, but because Angel Hernandez only umped 10 games last year because of a back injury. That's why. And I've got enough evidence to back that up, Stacey, because he had back surgery last year. He only managed 10 games. He managed 10 baseball games. That's at first base, second base, third base, and home. So he really only was home for 2 games, right? Let's give it 2.5, just to be kind, okay? You're not going to believe the stat. He managed 2 games behind the plate, 10 games total around the bases. Angel Hernandez had the worst correct call percentage in all of baseball last year. He managed 10 games. He umped 10 games. 10 baseball games. So he's supposed to do 160, 150 games per year. He did 10 and still had the worst rating in all of baseball. And the fact that he still has a job is crazy. I know there's a union, but you can't keep defending a guy on the highest level. Knock him down to AA. If Gleyber Torres doesn't hit, he gets sent down, right? We just last week we were talking about Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah got sent down to single A. How is that not possible for umpires? How is that not a rule? Major League Baseball, if I can get a little positivity to this to the fans that are getting annoyed, Major League Baseball is considering adding, they're calling it ABS, automated balls and strikes. Adding it can be added next year for the first time. So 2025 season. It will not be calling balls and strikes in games. It will be basically keeping the umpires in check. That's what this new system is supposed to do. It's going to monitor how close the umpires are to balls and strikes and really honing it down. Do I like that rule? Yeah. Is it going to make that much of a difference? Damn, I hope so. I hope it puts them on their toes more, because it's gotten to the point where it is so bad now, and it needs to get fixed, because this is the pro level and the highest level of the sport.
Right. I agree. It's a lot. It's a lot. They need to get better. I thought that maybe they were getting worse because they know the ABS system is coming and they're rebelling by being terrible. But no, something needs to be done, because there's no recourse at all. These guys get away with so much, and there's no punishment, no nothing.
No, it's terrible. It's gotten so bad.
All right, coming up next, we're previewing the Game 2 pitching matchup against the Astros, because the Yankees are playing the Astros. You guys know that. You just watched the game.
Baseball season is over a month old, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your prize pick entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your prize pick entries today. Get in on the playoff action. Went up to 100 times your money on prize picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Prize Picks is something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You could pick Jalen Brunson, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, Artemi Panarin, and June Bellingham all in the same entry. Prize Picks is the best way to get action in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this baseball season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into a $100 win with just a few taps. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download that app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for a $100 first deposit match. Welcome back to Locked On Yankees. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And guys, remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees' hometown broadcast with Sirius XM. You can catch the pitch. You can't watch it because it's only on Sirius, and that's the radio. Just download the SXM app, and you can search the word Yankees. Stacey, game 2 of this series against Houston. Spencer Arrighetti, 0-3, 8.27. You think he's Italian? Or what variation? You think he's going to hit up Rayo's in Manhattan the night before the game? Nice carb-loaded Italian meal.
Are you Irish-Italian?
I am. Yeah, classic mix. You don't really see a lot of that.
No, not in New York. Definitely not, because I'm Irish, Italian, and Greek. Mom's Irish, Italian. I find it so funny when people name their children with names like Spencer with an Italian last name, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. That cracks me up so much. I have a friend whose sister named one of her sons Grayson, and they have an Italian last name, and it's just like, So
this has to get pronounced like a Arrighetti, right? Like it's not Arrighetti. I'm just saying that like an arrogant New Yorker, but it's definitely gonna be like Arrighetti. That's how his grandma pronounces it for sure, right?
Well, I don't say my last name right. Greeks say my last name completely different. Like
we've all Americanized everything, just like our fast food. He's going up against Carlos Rodón. I'm not sure what nationality Rodón is. Couldn't begin to tell you. I know he's a country boy though. I know he's from Southern Illinois. I know he's a big country boy. Rodon's 2-2 with 3.68 ERA. Yankees got a hit in this game. That's it. We've talked about it. The going up against other teams' worst starters and getting mowed down. No more of that. No more of that. Go out here, hit this guy. Let Rodón get back into the groove of things. Let him he had a bad start against Baltimore. I wouldn't even call it necessarily a bad start. He just didn't look like vintage Rodón. He had one bad inning that got away from him. But overall, throughout the year, he's been their best pitcher. Go out there, shut this team down that's played horrible, and get out of this series with a win.
Yeah.
Stacey,
like you said,
the best hitter on the Astros, though, and I know this won't come to many surprise, but it surprised me when I saw this stat earlier because they're not having a good year. Right, it's well advertised. They've been terrible. They're not winning games. They're 12-22 or 12-23. They're not a good baseball team. Jose Altuve is hitting 343, which to me is more shocking. How they could be as bad as they are when you have a hitter hitting nearly 350, and Kyle Tucker has 9 home runs already. So it's not like he's no slouch either. That's what's crazy to me is they've got players that are giving them production, and yet they're still not winning games. It is wild to me.
Yeah, it's odd to see a team like the A's doing better than the Astros right now because you'd expect it to be the other way around. But the A's, hey, split with the Yankees in a 4-game series, beat Baltimore 2 out of 3. The Yankees couldn't do that. They lost 3 out of 4 to Baltimore. So
and you can't name a player on Baltimore. You can't name a player on Oakland. I don't know a single player on that team. I don't really care to know a single player. If they win games,
JP Sears. Wait a minute, JP Sears.
Okay. You get my point. There's not a lot of players on Baltimore, on Oakland that you can really remember, and yet they're playing really well. And then you have teams like out there like Toronto and teams like Houston who can't seem to win games. Now it's early. Again, Houston can still catch fire. I mean, we've seen teams do this kind of stuff, but it's getting late early for this team, as Yogi would once say. It's not looking pretty for this team, and I don't care. I'm super happy about it. I hope they finish the season like 12-150 if possible. Like I don't want them to win any more games the rest of the year. But I find it astonishing that Altuve could be hitting 343 and they still have this losing record.
Yeah, that shows you that how many of the other guys are not having seasons that they're. I mean, they sent Jose Abreu down to the minors to get right. I mean, that's
Able, like another guy getting sent, which just seems to be a new thing teams are doing now. You saw it with Alek Manoah. Well, he got sent down to like Independent Bowl or something, but you're seeing teams
the complex. He got sent down to the complex league last year. Yeah,
you're seeing teams send guys down to lower levels. And do you think there's a strategy behind that? Behind sending them down to such a low level, maybe to bring your ego down or like really give you a full reset if you're going down to the lowest level?
I'm not sure. I think maybe it's more for them to work on things as opposed to playing in games. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? That count with the
Yeah.
kids that are trying to win things, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting though, because I remember years ago in '05 when the Yankees got Tino Martinez back, Jason Giambi was struggling. They wanted to send him down to the minors. And Giambi's like, no, I'll turn things around. Don't worry, I'm not going to the minors. And he ended up turning things around. But that was like a big deal because people were, that wouldn't have happened
Yeah.
20
And
years ago. Like this
even
sort of thing would not have happened 20 years ago.
no, even when I started watching, I mean, in the eras of even when Mark Teixeira would come into the year struggling every year, there was no thought of sending him down. That didn't
No.
exist. That wasn't a thing. And now, I mean, it's a common thing now, and I kind of like it. It keeps these guys in check. These guys that have massive egos and stuff. It keeps their game in check, and it gives them a reset. Alek Manoah got back to the major leagues. Now, I don't know if he's still considered a major leaguer, but he did get back to the major leagues. So it does happen. I just think it's wild that the Astros are off to this bad of a start.
One more time, don't forget to join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. There's a link in the description below and a 14-day free trial. You get texts from us. You can text us questions. And speaking of that, leave your questions under the pinned comment below our YouTube videos to get your questions answered for Fan Mail Friday. If you join the Insiders Club, you get top priority, but we'll still answer your questions from YouTube. And remember, you can catch every pitch of the Yankees hometown broadcast with SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search the word Yankees. So, coming up on tomorrow's show, Brian's going to the game.
Yep, I'll be there. First game of the year for me.
Brian's going to the game. So, what we're going to do is we're going live at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
So, as opposed to premiering at midnight and me chatting with you while the episode is playing and I'm critiquing myself, we're going to be live, but you can still chat with us. We will see your chat while we're recording, and we'll try to answer some questions, but it will be a regular show. It's not going to be like a live stream. It's going to be an actual show. We're doing live reads and the ads and all that stuff. But if you have questions, we'll try to answer them for you. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. See you live at midnight.
As I lose my earbud.
I saw that.